All right, so let's talk about week 5 graded part of your attendance. So here's the instruction file. And this week we're going to, and you will get introduced to this concept of the box model. And it can be one of the harder concepts for new developers to grasp, which is the CSS box model. And specifically, there's a padding and a margin. So what we're going to do is actually give you some starter code and then have you customize that starter code. Okay, so you're going to build 2 topic cards, apply your project custom colors, and you will learn a CSS trick that's really fun, which is basically using 2 classes. Now, we used classes last week when we did the palette with the I'm trying to remember if it was called a card, but then we applied a specific to the primary accent and text. So we're going to do something similar here, but we're actually going to apply 2 classes at the same time to combine their styles. And this is just good to see in action, as we're also going to see it in the project. Now, Kevin's not going to cover it I'm pretty sure he does not cover it in the code along. So we're going to be working in your public repo. So it's attendance, so it's public. So one of the things I always do is I bring up my CIT85 GitHub IO, whatever your repo name is, -pub. And I always have that ready, so when I need it, I have it later. The other thing I always get ready is I open up my public repo just by itself so I can play along and only see those files. So you create a folder, CSS, and then within there, style.css, and then you have an index. Now we're going to end up copying and pasting, but that's the structure you'll create. All right, so back over here. So that's what this first one talks about, is how to do that. And then you're going to have some following code, but so here I want you to know a couple things to look for in this code. And then we're also going to replace the placeholder text with quick facts or tips related to your specific website topic. So if we come down here, we see normal stuff in the doc type HTML. It's got a title, okay? But when you come down further after your H1, you see the div, which we use for palette. And now we see this class, and now we have a card and a box-A, card box-B, okay? So just note that as you copy this content into your HTML, okay? So now what you will do is before you commit this, you will go ahead and update that placeholder text for that one, okay? So now what you're going to do is you're going to combine forces in your CSS, right? So let's style these boxes and run the experiment. So open up your CSS and check it out. What you're going to do is add this to your CSS. This is a requirement, is to change the background color and the border color hex codes to match the colors you chose in week 4. Okay, so we have a body selector, we have a font, a background color, right? So we're changing the, yeah, cool. Okay, so in this case, like you have this for also the body. I was just looking at this and you have it for the card. So this is really, and this is the comment that tells you which one you're going to change here, right? So you have a dot card class and then you have a dot box A and a dot box B, okay? So now, first thing is just look at the output. Okay, now my output is in its final stage, so I'll show you that in a minute. But right now, both boxes share the white background and the solid border for dot card, but they get their unique border colors from here. Okay, so that's the wonderful thing about being able to use 2 classes in your HTML like this, is it takes, here's all the styling for this class, and now add to it this one. Okay. So take a look at that, right? And then what we're going to do here, look at the page. Right. Okay. Now the text is touching in the very edges of the background. Okay. So now what you're going to do is let's give these cards some breathing room. So what you're going to do is add on the dot card a padding. Okay. Now, by the way, every time you make these changes, you should go over. Now mine's in its final state, but you should go over and look at these changes that you have, like what it's doing. Okay. Because this is part of the exercise. right? So what's happening? And by the way, I didn't say this, but I will say this now. Make sure you have your go live running. Okay. So what happened? The padding pushes away from the border and the inside. Both boxes instantly grow because they both share the dot cart. So they both have that padding now. Okay. So step 3 is specific outside margin, right? So now what you're going to do, to push them apart by targeting just the box, the top box. And this is important. This is on the top. This is on the top one. For you to really see this, you got to make sure you're doing it in the right locations. Okay. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go into your CSS and you're going to add margin bottom 50 pixels, just you can copy and paste these and observe what happened, right? Now, let's add some unique flair. Okay, so now let's prove that has its own unique stuff too. And so what you're going to do is, while keeping the card, because the card has the style that they both share, so now you're going to add some uniqueness to your B. You might add a border radius again, make it your own, or you could do a border style, you could do a dashed, right? And then observe how your box B has that and your box A remains the same. Okay, so then do another commit here. Okay, so now the last step you're going to do, and really this could have been the step you've done all along, is actually to inspect what is happening here from a CSS and the box model perspective. Okay, so what you're going to do is, well, first we'll do this and then you'll add the comment. So over here, I'm now in mine. And let's say I wanted to look at this, I'd right click, hit inspect, right? And when I do that, this would depend on how you have your particular browser set up, right? But as for me, when I am here, I can always come down here and here's my box model. Okay, so the thing I'd probably want to look at here is the div itself. And when I click on the div, then I get, okay, there's the padding. Oh, there's the border. Okay, good, right? So that's what's cool about looking at it this way, right? So then, right? So what I want you to do is spend some time here, right? Hovering over, right? Your padding, your yellow, your margin, right? Just to see all those, because this idea of the box model, when Kevin starts talking about this, having a visual that you can go look at can be really, really helpful. Okay. And now I'm wondering why. Hold on a second. That was the other thing I was going to show you. Is the other thing you can do here when you're in here is you can play around here too as well. Let me refresh real quick, just because I'm not seeing some. Oh, you know what? That's why I had restarted my live server. So let me do that. So this is what I was wanting to show you, is that when you're here and you kind of want to see that instantly, you can actually come in here and any of these things you can check off. So if I wanted to see, okay, take away the border. Okay. All right. So then you can see how that particular class is actually creating the design that you're seeing. And with that margin, you can instantly see it. So this is a really good thing as you're going through and learning CSS, right? So not only can this help you start to see, okay, how's that? That's what that is. And then here you can also see, okay, that's the padding here. So it actually, using this visual hint to help you start to understand what this margin, border, and padding is. So if like this is the text itself, and we talk about everything's a box in CSS, okay? So then it shows you how with a box you can then apply padding and a border and a margin, okay? So keep this in mind as you move to the colon, okay? So now what you're going to do, we're in this inspector mode, right? So now what you're going to do is hover over, right? This is kind of what I was saying, is to hover over these and go through your site, play with different things that we've done today, okay? And then go back into your CSS and add the exact comment at the bottom to prove you inspected the colors, right? So here's a comment that you would add into your CSS, and then you would do one more commit and then push to GitHub. Okay. So now what you're going to do is go to back to the canvas. Now at this point, now what you need to do, and this is why I always bring up, my repo, and then I would add W5. Now I haven't pushed mine yet, but that's how you get the URL that you will then share in Canvas. Okay. Oh, that's a different one. Okay. So now, so go to Canvas. So in your own words, based on a visual experiment, what's the difference between padding and margin? Okay. And how did putting the two classes help us write CSS more efficiently? So now you could talk about other things if you wanted here, but definitely play around with this, make it your own. As long as you've done the required stuff, play with this, have fun with it. But answer these questions and give the URL in the post. And then this is what I was talking about here. See that it works, right? Uh, yeah, and so here's some other ideas you could throw in there as well. And then 15 points for a substantive reply to one student. Okay, have fun with this again, because knowing and at least being exposed to the box model before you actually get exposed to it in the code along can really be helpful in this idea of using two classes together to actually have more efficiently use our styles. And in this case, we're using classes, which are still not something we've been formally introduced to, that we've been using. All right, talk to you later.